In this lesson, we're going to build our first data model. To begin, let's get some data first. So we go to Home tab and click on Get Data. In our case, we'll be using an Excel file as a data source. Just going to open the Excel file, double click the data. We're going to wait a few seconds for the navigator to show. Here's all the available tables inside the Excel file. We're going to choose all of them, so I'm just going to tick all the boxes for the available tables inside the data.xlsx. Once we tick off all the tables, we're going to press load. Within seconds, the data will be loaded inside our Power BI file, and then we're going to start exploring our model, and then we're going to see how the tables are connected and related to each other. We've got all the tables now loaded inside our field section of the Power BI file. Let's go to the model view and investigate what's going on. Just going to hide fields, and I'm going to give you a better picture of what we've got available. So currently we've got all the tables available inside the Excel file. As we can see, some of them are connected to each other, others are not. So if you are purely looking at the tables on the left, we can call this model a star schema, purely because of the way the tables are connected to each other. Star schema and snowflake schema is something that we're going to look separate in the future. For now, I want you guys to focus on what you see in front. So this is our data model. So this is how the tables are connected to each other. This is the equivalent of a join in SQL, for those familiar with the SQL language. For those, that's the very first time that you're seeing a data model. This means that this table is connected to this table. So the connection here is one-to-many. So what that means is that DIM product table can filter fact internet sales based on any of these criteria available inside DIM product. Same thing can be applied to DIM customer, to DIM sales territory, and last but not least to DIM underscore currency. So all these tables can filter our main fact internet sales table. Now these two tables are very interesting because they're not connected directly to the other two tables, and we're going to see exactly why. So the connections here are one-to-many. In this case, it's also one-to-many. Okay, that's perfectly fine. So let's see what else can be done about the relationships. Now, the Power BI engine is quite clever about detecting relationships between tables. So if it sees common fields, for example, let's see. So here the connection is made on product key. So if it sees two tables that have got product key columns inside each other, Power BI will attempt to make a connection between the two. And then this is how the system would automatically apply this. However, these two tables are connected on product category ID, which is fine. However, the connection between DIM product subcategory and DIM underscore product is not established for the same reason. So inside DIM product, we've got product subcategory key. However, on the DIM product subcategory table, we've got product subcategory ID. So product subcategory ID is the equivalent of product subcategory key. Now, this kind of makes sense. However, in terms of Power BI, it checks for commonalities amongst column names. So in our case, these two columns are not called exactly the same. So that's why there is no established relationship. One way we can take a look at the relationship at a bigger level is if we go to the modeling tab and we click on manage relationships. So this will show all the available relationships currently. So we've got from table to table. It says on which column the relationship is made. We can click on edit if we want to edit some of the relationships. So here's the edit window. We can change things such as cross filter direction. Unfortunately, the cross filter direction is pretty much the only thing we've got control. If we go for something for such as cardinality, the cardinality you selected isn't valid for this relationship. One-to-many is not valid for this relationship. Many-to-many is not valid for this relationship. So in our case, many-to-one is the correct relationship. And that's because we definitely know what data is available inside these two tables. Now, let's click cancel and go back to this. So relationships in Power BI can be created or deleted. If we want to delete a relationship, we simply right-click on the relationship and press delete. This will delete the relationship. If we want to create a relationship, the easiest way to do it is if we choose a field and then drag it next to the other field. So, for example, I'm going to use product subcategory ID, and connect this with product subcategory key. So I'm going to drag this and drag it to product subcategory key. Within seconds, we've got the relationship now enabled. And from a simple star schema, which was all these 4 tables, we've transformed our model into a snowflake schema. Again, snowflake schema will be discussed in more detail a bit later on in the course. For now, it's important for us to see the first data model and see what the data model looks like and understand that there are some relationships between table, and this is how the magic happens within Power BI. We import these different tables, but these different tables, if they're not connected to each other, they're not sufficient for our data modeling. They're not sufficient for our reporting. So what that means is they need to have a relationship between each other. They need to have these so-called joins in order for our data to work, in order for us to achieve the desired granularity. And this was our lesson on our first data model. We'll see each other in our next lesson.